Hello and welcome to my voice. A while back, I posted a quick update about my current animation project. That video was pretty short though, so I thought it would be fun to make something of a documentary series talking about my process, and I'm always super excited to show people what I'm working on. So currently, I haven't actually started animation yet, I just haven't found the time. So in this video, which I dub part 1 of the series, I'll be covering the pre-production. The first thing I did was actually acquire the audio from the podcast, but after that, I designed the characters. A little known fact, I've actually been planning this project since January of 2020, which was just a few months after I got my job. I was super excited about the new puppet skills I was learning, and I wanted to try my own hand at it. I did design both Loveless and Eris, and I did start rigging their builds, but there were a few factors as to why I didn't move ahead with the actual production. First, I just wasn't happy with the designs. I wanted something a lot more simplified and cartoony and visually distinct, and my art style just wasn't there yet. I think it's interesting how when I first started learning to draw, I was striving for realism, but now that I got realism, I'm striving for simplification. Anyway, the second reason is something I've actually talked about on this channel before, and it's my lack of proper puppet rigging skills. At this point, I was memorizing the puppets we used at work and reverse engineering how to make one. I didn't understand the proper workflow or the very important settings I was supposed to be using, so the puppets I built ended up being not that great to use. The third factor was just that thinking about making such a big animation project is very intimidating, and I was severely doubting if I could even handle it by myself. But over the past year, I've been working on getting better at planning, well, my life in general, and the solution was actually super simple: to break down the big goals into smaller goals, and then making a checklist off of that. Suddenly, this meant my goal wasn't to vaguely and scarily animate a 3-minute long video, it's design Loveless. And once that's checked off my list, which is a very satisfying action, so that's a big bonus, it becomes design Eris. And then it's rig Loveless's puppet. Not only does this turn the giant, daunting task into smaller, much more manageable bite sizes, having a checklist also just helps me remember what I have to do, which is very helpful for a forgetful and disorganized person like me. So last December, I finally got my wits back together about this project and redesigned the characters, mostly based off this sketchy marker drawing, and this time to a much better result since I had been practicing simplified character design. I started with the quartered front designs, and then I also drew the side view and the back view. This is called a turnaround, and this is very important when it comes to rigging. In January, I rigged both characters in Toon Boom Harmony. I had learned a lot from my Shadow and Bone project and my own puppet rig, and I had consulted some pro build artists at work, so I knew what mistakes to avoid. So now, joints overlap properly, the head can be placed before the body, and there are less geometry clashes, etc, etc. This time I also tried something new called Master Controller. This is a tool we use at work, but I've never tried making one myself, and it turned out to be so easy that it boggled my mind. I'll link the tutorials I used, but basically the Master Controller can be used for head tilts, mouth swaps, blinks, and on and on. Obviously, as you can see, the tweens don't always work properly, but this happens at work too, and it's just something you have to deal with. Once I learned how to make one master controller, I kind of went a little mad and made all of these other ones. What can I say? I got a little excited. Also in January, I started storyboarding. A storyboard is a sequence of drawings that plan out the animation and the blocking and the general flow of events. People who don't work in animation might assume that an animator decides what goes into a scene, but we don't. That very important job goes to the storyboarders. We just copy what they do. I drew mine in Harmony because I still haven't figured out how to properly use their storyboarding program, and the boards were drawn alongside with the audio from the podcast. A storyboard in video form with sound is called an animatic, which is a term you might be more familiar with since it's a very popular type of fan content you can see floating around the internet. I actually hate drawing storyboards, but I managed to gruel through it. Once it was done, I broke the animatic into individual shots. These clips will be placed in the corner of each scene so that I can easily reference it while I'm animating. Drawing the storyboards also helps me determine what backgrounds I need. I ended up needing 9 unique backgrounds. Some of them are close-ups of another background, so technically I could have just gotten away with reusing that one background, but I was concerned that zooming in would cause the background to look blurry or at the very least have thicker lines, and I would just prefer to have them all be consistent. And that leads us to where I am now. The next step will be to start posing out the scenes, and that will be its own video. See y'all then!